tonight on USA Today.
This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. 11 days now to Election Day. Mike Dukakis today called that a political eternity. Plenty of time, Dukakis said, to still turn it around and win this election. For his part, George Bush talked up the idea of a possible end to negative campaign tactics, but then proceeded to use some of his toughest rhetoric yet. Correspondent Eric Ingberg, traveling with the Bush campaign in California, begins our coverage.
Well, it's hard to believe. 11 days. We need you to get that vote out.
George Bush spoke almost wistfully last night of running a kinder campaign. But in the cold light of morning, his staff was squelching any speculation that he would really do it, and the candidate was out flailing the Democrats in his usual style.
I think it's just common sense to say that you can't be tough on crime and also be a member of the ACLU.
Bush's law and order message has taken him to more police stations than Cagney and Lacey put together. And today it was the real chips of the California Highway Patrol who provided the backdrop for another show of blue political power. Bush started at the training track for future Broderick Crawfords, then got more than 100 endorsements from California lawmen.
We want to present Vice President George Bush with the America's #1 Crime Fighter Award.
Bush frequently brandishes the badge of a slain New York police officer he was given at a similar endorsement session last week. Today, he said, the Democratic Party suffers from a split personality, whose rank and file includes police and others he termed the best in America.
But the leadership, much of it, is a remnant of the 60s. The new left, those campus radicals grown old. The peace marchers and the nuclear freeze activists.
Using a term that was popular with Richard Nixon, Bush said the silent majority should switch to the Republicans this year. Bush has not before used such harsh language against the Democratic Party, whose blue-collar members he's been romancing. Today's attack indicates Bush has hopes that months of liberal bashing have now paved the way to convert Reagan Democrats into full-fledged Republicans. Eric Engberg, CBS News, Sacramento.
The Battle Hymn of the Republic might be a theme song these last days for the new Go for Broke Dukakis campaign.
I got to do a little preaching here.
And preach he did, both at this Kansas City meeting and at this jam-packed rally at a field house at Macomb Community College in Warren, Michigan, where Dukakis drew what observers said was a much better crowd than Vice President Bush had earlier this month. Kitty Dukakis has been introducing her husband on this swing, talking about the strength he showed when their first child died as evidence of qualities some voters seem to think he lacks.
Does that show sensitivity and caring? You bet it does.
Dukakis himself is campaigning not just against George Bush, but against pollsters and consultants, too, saying don't let them tell you who the winner is.
And I think the American people are getting a little tired of being told how they're going to vote. They're going to make the decision.
That comes, ironically, as some polls show Dukakis gaining ground in California, in Wisconsin, and in Ohio, though he's still behind there, and while senior campaign advisors are claiming a national surge.
Particularly in the major states and the battleground states, that over the last 3 days there's been measurable movement towards Governor Dukakis.
Today's blasts included a swipe at the imperial isolation in which Bush campaigns.
Mr. Bush is out there in his little cocoon. They won't let him out. We're going to take our case directly to the American people. That's what we're going to do.
At this stop, they loved it all. But even with some gains, Dukakis is behind in most places and badly behind in some, with just 10 days to go. Bruce Morton, CBS News, Warren, Michigan.
More graphic evidence of inner-city crime tied to drug trafficking and the impact on people caught in the middle. Not far from the White House and Capitol Hill, early Thursday morning, rival drug dealers peppered the area outside a Washington nightclub with automatic weapons fire. The second gunplay incident there within hours. Among the many onlookers diving for cover, 4 didn't get up. One of the 4 died. 19-year-old Bondelia Robinson, killed by a gunshot wound to the head. She was the 287th homicide victim in the nation's capital this year. One suspect was arrested by police after a wild car chase. CBS News law correspondent Rita Braver has been investigating crime, punishment, and politics in this presidential campaign.
George Bush likes to brag that he and Clint Eastwood have the same message for criminals. Go ahead, make my day.
My opponent's answer is slightly different. His motto is, go ahead, have a nice weekend.
I didn't learn my lessons on crime from a Clint Eastwood movie. My state has cut crime by more than any other industrial state in the nation in the past 5 years.
Welcome to Crime Busters of '88, where each presidential candidate promises safer streets for America. But can he deliver?
The federal government doesn't investigate or prosecute murders, rapes, armed robberies, muggings, aggravated assaults. So it just doesn't do that.
It's the states and cities that handle those crimes. They also house most of the violent prisoners and spend the most on criminal justice. The president's role?
He can allocate funds and set priorities, and he can make money available for certain kinds of programs, but that's about it.
The president can fund technical assistance for local law enforcement. This administration has tried to cut such programs, but Bush says he'll beef things up. Dukakis says he will too. A president can support the death penalty. Bush does, Dukakis doesn't. But the federal death penalty is not directed at street-level hoods, only at a small number of organized crime bosses. Presidents can appoint tough federal judges. Their rulings may keep some criminals in prison, but have little effect on blocking heinous crimes.
Willie Horton stabbed my teenage brother 19 times. Joey died. Horton was sentenced to life without parole, but Dukakis gave him a furlough.
Bush won't talk about this drug pusher, one of his furloughed heroin dealers, who raped and murdered Patsy Pedren, pregnant mother of 2.
But as for prison furloughs, all states and the federal government have them. A president can't abolish them. So the campaigns are playing to what the voters want to hear, that a presidential candidate is on their side.
I want to hear that sentences should be stronger, that parole be abolished, and that probation be given sparingly.
So stand by for more of this.
I'm the one in this race who wants to strengthen law enforcement.
We need tough and unrelenting law enforcement.
Even if it won't make the streets in your neighborhood any safer. Rita Braver, CBS News, Washington.
We want to take a moment for an editor's note. We've received many telephone calls about our lengthy for an evening news interviews with Michael Dukakis and Lloyd Bentsen. Some of those calls have been angry ones. A reminder this evening, this broadcast has extended open invitations as well to George Bush and Dan Quayle to be interviewed live anywhere for this broadcast. Now, still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News, correspondent David Dow from Alaska on the whales who finally swam free. Probably. And Richard Roth on the night Orson Welles had the Martians invade New Jersey.
The monster is now in control of the middle section of New Jersey and has effectively cut the state through its center. Communication lines are down from Pennsylvania to the Atlantic Ocean.
Good morning, Joanne.
was approved, yes?
Right, and Steve knows about the change, the exclusion of the top 10.
This is my husband, Michael. He's under a lot of pressure, but now he's doing things differently. Like taking the stairs, eating more fruit, and cutting down on cholesterol and saturated fat. That's why I cook the foods he loves with Puritan oil. Puritan has no cholesterol and is 94% saturated fat-free. I've got an idea.
The health club before dinner. Great.
Michael is feeling wonderful. And I am too.
Puritan. Make it your oil for life.
I can't get out of bed.
Ever notice how even the smallest cold turns everything into a big effort?
What a drag!
It's time to get the big relief of Dimetap. In 12-hour extend tabs, Dimetap is recommended millions of times by doctors and pharmacists.
So you have a cold? I've got just the thing.
Dimetap. It gets things back to normal.
Don't take chances with your brake repairs. Trust your brakes to Midas, where the work is done by trained experts. And your brake shoes and pads are guaranteed for as long as you own your car. Nobody beats Midas. Nobody.
If every time you look around it seems like your rug is dirty, try Woolite Spot and Stain Rug Cleaner.
Because it contains the ingredient Fiber Pel, it keeps your heavy traffic areas cleaner longer than the other liquid spray. Trust Woolite Spot and Stain Rug Cleaner.
Government figures out today show the U.S. federal budget deficit rose to $155.1 billion for the just ended fiscal year 1988. That is $4.7 billion higher than last year. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration today imposed a multi-million-dollar fine on one of the nation's major meat packers, charges repeated health and safety violations, including forcing injured workers to stay on the job. CBS News correspondent Jacqueline Adams reports on the controversy over what goes into putting meat on America's dinner tables.
Meatpacking has long been one of the most dangerous and dehumanizing industries. And today, OSHA slapped a record $4.3 million fine against John Morrell and Company for willfully ignoring unhealthy working conditions. Federal safety officials say 40% of the workers at the Sioux Falls, South Dakota plant have suffered painful hand and nerve damage, which renders joints incapable of movement, the result of repeated hand, wrist, and arm motions with poorly designed tools.
We found that the company did little to nothing to protect its workers against these potentially crippling disorders.
The company plans to appeal.
We think they're grossly unfair, they're unjustified, and they're counterproductive to what we're trying to do, which we feel is making great strides towards improving the safety program.
OSHA charged that Morrell even deliberately re-injured workers by forcing them back onto the assembly line before they'd had a chance to heal, an accusation that the company denies. But last year, an orthopedic surgeon told West 57th Street's Meredith Vieira that he quit a Morrell-sponsored clinic rather than practice bad medicine.
Were you pressured by the company
Yes.
to get workers back?
Yes.
Union officials saw today's fine as the culmination of 2 years' work.
It really exposes the ugly conditions that the workers have endured in this plant.
Today's fine, the 10th OSHA citation against Morrell in 19 months, is part of an ongoing battle between the meatpacker and the government. Just yesterday, the company won a round when a Cincinnati judge dismissed an earlier OSHA fine. Jacqueline Adams, CBS News, Washington.
There's a new chapter with a new twist today in the uproar over an abortion pill in France. Earlier this week, the drug company withdrew the product because of public pressure. Today, under French government pressure, the company put it back on the market. This pill is designed to produce abortions without surgery. The French government has approved it for use in the first 7 weeks of pregnancy. Correspondent Doug Donnell in Paris picks up the story.
The French government today ordered the pharmaceutical company Roussel-Uclaf to put RU-486 back into distribution in France just 48 hours after the company announced it was taking the drug off the market. French Health Minister Claude Evin described as scandalous and inadmissible a pressure campaign that he said included anonymous threats against the families of Roussel's directors if they went ahead with distribution of the pill. The minister said the laboratory had taken infinite care to ensure the drug was safe and that its use would be carefully controlled. RU-486 works by changing the chemical balance along the walls of the uterus just as the fertilized egg starts developing. RU-486 was made available in France only last month when it was distributed to clinics like this one. It is not available at local drugstores, even by prescription. The decision on Wednesday to withdraw the drug drew a muted public reaction in France, but one family planning advocate expressed disappointment that what she called outside groups could pressure a French company in this way. The groups she was referring to are militant Catholics here in France and right-to-life advocates in the United States.
I think it is imperative that every pro-life American do everything that we can to stop the killing of innocent preborn children, whether it's by drugs or knives or how the killing is done.
The most significant factor to American pro-abortionists is the fact that women will be able to act for themselves.
The abortion decision will truly be a private one. It will be very difficult to pick at the homes of millions of women all over the country, trying to block them from using this drug if they see fit to do so.
Officials at Roussel tonight said American anti-abortion activists had warned of a boycott of all the company's products if it went ahead with RU-486. Now the French government has given the pharmaceutical producer no choice. Doug Donnell, CBS News, Paris.
Riot police in Czechoslovakia used clubs, water cannon, and tear gas to break up a rally by opposition groups today in Prague's main square. Several thousand people showed up to call for political freedoms on the 70th anniversary of the founding of Czechoslovakia. But police moved in before the protests could begin. In this country, first test of the big new trade law this election year, President Reagan's U.S. Trade Representative Clayton Yetter tonight surprised U.S. rice farmers by rejecting their call that Japan be investigated for unfair blocking of U.S. rice imports. Instead, Yetter said he'd rather settle it through negotiations. If possible, negotiations already underway. California and Texas, two of the biggest U.S. election prizes, are big rice farming states.
I was a young boy who dreamed of great things, to bring a medal home to my country, and the dream came true. As an athlete, I was determined to do great things. Today, I still am. Now I'm an American citizen, a part of another team, a Dow, that helps to make medical surgery safer.
And when this team wins, the whole world wins.
Dow lets you do great things.
You know, when you put down your hard-earned cash for a car, you want the car maker to stand behind it, not walk away from it. 770 protection, 7 years or 70,000 miles. You know that's still the longest powertrain protection in the business. On the most important and costly part of your vehicle, the engine and the transmission. Long-term protection is your right. We intend to see that you get it.
Many people need to cut down on salt for better health.
Instead of salt, use great-tasting Mrs. Dash with 14 natural herbs and spices. Use Mrs. Dash on every dish for zesty, savory flavor. For better health, instead of salt, try Mrs. Dash.
The new Remington Electroblade vibrating blade system has been an amazing success for those who prefer shaving with a blade. Electroblade's vibrating twin blades glide so easily you'll get the closest, smoothest blade shave you've ever imagined or your money back.
Libya's leader Muammar Gaddafi denied tonight flatly that Libya is producing chemical weapons. CIA Director William Webster said earlier this week that Gaddafi's regime has built a major chemical weapons plant outside of Tripoli, but Gaddafi told CBS News in an exclusive interview today that the factory in question is making medicine, not poison gas. I also asked Gaddafi about the U.S. hostages in Lebanon. In your personal opinion, is there any chance that the American hostages will be released anytime soon?
Not under Reagan's administration, anyway.
Not in the Reagan administration. Gaddafi also told me he looks forward to better relations with the next U.S. president. He wouldn't say which candidate he prefers. National elections are coming up next Tuesday in Israel, and the latest polls today show no party with a clear advantage. Israel is now run by a deadlocked coalition, unable to agree on the key issue of peace with the Palestinians. As CBS News correspondent Bob Simon reports, the elections may or may not change that.
The real star of the campaign has been the Star of David. The major parties have been wrapping themselves in the Israeli flag, American style. Otherwise, politics here are distinctively different. There are no photo ops for the evening news because government-run Israeli television is not allowed to cover the campaign. Voter turnout is high, over 80% usually. Attention to cosmetics is low. Personalities are less important than policies.
So the game here is a different game. It's much more emotional. The issues are much more meaningful. So the outward appearance, the packaging, is less important here.
There are 27 parties. The extreme left favors the immediate creation of a Palestinian state. The extreme right calls for the immediate expulsion of all Palestinians from a greater Jewish state. There are 7 separate religious parties. One party in its TV commercials is going after the floating vote with a campaign to abolish all taxes.
It's a democracy where you have in one family at least 2 parties. Sometimes you have 4 parties in one family. The whole thing is a celebration.
The small party suggests that the leaders of the large party, Shamir and Peres, look alike. Shamir's right-wing Likud party maintains that a vote for Peres is a vote for Arafat. Peres' left-wing Labor Party portrays Shamir as the man who reacts to every new idea with an old answer: low, no. Low, low, low. The uprising, the Intifada, is the backdrop to the campaign. The theme is borders. Fear of Arabs is the dynamic. The irony is that this election in the Jewish state could well be decided by Israel's 300,000 Arab voters, Israeli citizens who are becoming increasingly active members of the electorate, an electorate which all in all is so small, smaller than Alabama's, and so exasperatingly well-informed.
It's very difficult to run a country when you have 3 million prime ministers. And here everybody understands on everything.
Polls indicate the race is so close now that there will be no winner, that the people of this passionate and impulsive nation will wake up on Wednesday to discover they voted to continue the paralysis and stalemate of the last 4 years. Bob Simon, CBS News, Tel Aviv.
Choose to make a difference.
Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place if you can.
Every time you reach for MasterCard from now through December, we'll donate money to 6 worthy causes, and you can help choose where the money goes.
Reach out and touch somebody's hand.
Choose to make a difference. Choose MasterCard.
He strained his back real bad about a week ago, and I had this free sample of Metapron.
I couldn't believe how fast it worked.
Metapron has ibuprofen, and nothing's proven faster.
It's amazing.
Metapron just works.
When the pain gets tough, get Metapron.
We've studied your mouth from every angle and created a toothbrush with a very special angle, the Reach toothbrush, with a dental angle designed to clean even back teeth better, to get your teeth 51% cleaner than the other leading brush. Reach for 51% cleaner teeth.
June Allison for Depend.
Enjoying life is so much easier when you have the best bladder control protection. New Depend undergarments has special layers of absorbency that won't bunch or sag, and elastic legs for a better fit. It's simply the best protection you can get. More people trust Depend, and you can too. Get back into life.
Get back into life with Depend.
The great saga that began October 7th when an Eskimo spotted whales trapped by the ice in the Arctic off Alaska may have ended today. But if the story ended, it sure ended in a mystery. David Dow reports from Barrow, Alaska.
The news traveled fast from the final frozen setting of the whale rescue drama. The whales are gone. Last seen just before daybreak, swimming in the icy rubble left in the wake of a Soviet icebreaker.
They seem to be in pretty good condition. We all feel that they are no longer trapped, and I just feel great about it.
There was uncertainty in the ending. As the day progressed, no one spotted the whales again. The final rescue came with the whales in a man-made breathing hole, less than 1,000 feet from open water. Last night, the Russian ship moved in and swept the ice to within 100 feet of the whales. The whales left the hole, retreated, then left again. Bloodstains on the ice indicated that at one point the whales turned slightly away from open water. The swept area quickly froze, but officials were confident there were enough holes to support the whales to open water.
They've had to make it and they're on their way. There's no other explanation for it.
These whales have a will. You know, they've hung on. They're going to hang on some more.
Though the rescue effort finally became an international event, it was also a community affair. Local residents worked round the clock, cutting a man-made lifeline for the whales nearly to open water. Today, they were jubilant.
As long as they're gone, freedom. As long as they're happy, we're all happy.
I feel great. I feel like I got no more burden.
This afternoon, the rescue crews packed up and left the ice. No matter that they may never know for sure the whales' fate. The whales are assumed free. There's talk of a celebration. David Dow, CBS News, Barrow, Alaska.
You're invited to Color Tile's 35th anniversary sale for fantastic store-wide savings of up to 50%. Save on our huge selection of ceramics, vinyl, even wall coverings. This handsome ceramic only 64 cents. Every in-stock Armstrong Sundial Solarian sheet vinyl just $9.99. This fashionable ceramic only $139, and decorative bouquet wall tiles just $199. Save up to 50% at Color Tile's 35th anniversary sale. But hurry, it ends Sunday. Come now and bring the beauty home.
Moms sure make life easier. Mine did. Like another mom, Phillips Milk of Magnesia. Phillips Mom helps your body work naturally for easy overnight relief. Even has this convenient dosage cup. Nobody treats you better than Mom.
In a new survey, we asked 1,000 doctors if stranded in the middle of nowhere, would they want Tylenol, extra strength Tylenol, Advil, or Bayer? Doctors chose Bayer, 3-to-1 over extra strength Tylenol. Bayer, the wonder drug that works wonders.
Did you hear about Murphy? He switched our long distance.
On his own?
He made an executive decision.
I can't believe it.
He's got 10 years in, kids in college.
Didn't he think about his profit sharing, his pension?
Does Foster know?
Foster knows.
So, what happened to poor Murphy?
He got promoted.
MCI. Until you call, you'll never know how much better a long-distance company can be. Let us show you.
50 years ago Sunday, a man from Dayton, Ohio called a New York newspaper and asked, "What time will it be the end of the world?" This was a typical reaction to a broadcast over the CBS radio network, a recreation of an all-but-forgotten novel by H.G. Wells. Tonight, Richard Roth takes a look back at what happened to see if it could happen again.
In Grover's Mill, New Jersey now, they can laugh about a Martian invasion, but to a lot of people 50 years ago, it was no joke. Dick Stives was 13 then.
This is real, yes. That was we were scared, and we didn't know what to think.
The monster is now in control of the middle section of New Jersey. And
it's said that more than 1 million people who heard the elaborate radio adaptation of a science fiction fantasy that Halloween Eve in 1938 believed it was true, believed that Martians had landed in rural New Jersey.
I'm, of course, surprised that
Orson Welles, who created the program, apologized for the panic, though years later he admitted War of the Worlds was intended to be a hoax.
I thought it would be fun to prove that the radio could lie along with everything else.
It was television's turn, Wells said, to try the same thing. And though scholars and screenwriters have insisted it could happen again, in 50 years, nothing like what happened in Grover's Mill has ever quite been repeated. Though not, it seems, for lack of trying. The Martian invaders of the 30s became Soviet missiles in the 80s.
Something you can almost taste.
Or nuclear terrorists in Charleston, South Carolina, in a made-for-TV movie.
There has been an atomic explosion in Charleston, South Carolina.
Oh my God, this is terrible.
The Charleston situation did, in fact, cause a lot of people to get worried and to make the telephone calls and to be afraid, very much the way the War of the Worlds did in 1938, but on a much smaller scale.
Much smaller. The Charleston TV show is hardly remembered. The War of the Worlds is still being recreated, most recently for broadcast this weekend on public radio.
Martian cylinders have been falling all across the country.
I believe people are more gullible today than they were then. There's been a headlong rush into irrationality with a big capital I in the last 20 years in our society.
And it still intrigues us that all of these events could have happened and makes us wonder about whether the event could happen again today.
And that is the theme of an anniversary this weekend in a small suburban hamlet, recalling a curious night of fear and panic half a century ago, now celebrated as a triumph of imagination. Richard Roth, CBS News, Grover's Mill.
And that's the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather, Bob Schieffer will be here with the news tomorrow. I'll see you Monday. Good night.
Beast of the East, Penn State, takes on the newfound power of Major Harris and undefeated West Virginia tomorrow on CBS Sports.
This is CBS.